as a common sense approach. And later on the international front, the remains of 42 South African freedom fighters martyred during the struggle against white minority rule arrives in the country. We've got details of all of these stories and more making the newsroom bulletin this morning. Do stay tuned. Thank you once again for joining us here on Newsroom. The bulletin is streaming live on Facebook. We're also live on other social media platforms, including X and YouTube with a handle at GHOne TV. You can also check us out on Instagram. Now, Amnesty International Ghana is demanding for compensation for all protesters who were unlawfully arrested during the Stop Galamsey protest and Reoccupy Jubilee House protests last weekend. Country Director for Amnesty International, Genevieve Patenting, during a press engagement, also called for a review of the Public Order Act 1994, Act 491, which gives the police too much power over protesters. Now, Genevieve Patenting also bemoaned the poor handling of protesters by the Ghana Police Service, especially the lack of access to food, water, hygiene products, legal counsel, and medical assessment for detained protesters, which is against their fundamental human rights.
When security forces hear this word, they tend to relate it to aggression and public disorder, which is an assumption, by the way, not a fact. We also need to review the Public Order Act 1994 491. NRCD Law 68 dealt with demonstrations and at first persons or groups needed a permit to demonstrate. This law was repealed after the Public Order Act came into action. There are clear issues in this act, and it gives security forces, specifically the police, too much power over potential demonstrations. Amnesty International Ghana has continued to educate people on their right to protest and how to be safe during protests. Detained protesters need to be granted basic access to proper food, water, and hygiene products, access to legal counsel and medical assessment and treatment. If you keep shifting them around, how do we, the supporters, get access to them? Our main requests are that we would want a list of all detained protesters and where they are stationed, so we can be granted access to them so they receive the necessary care and basic human rights. We are also appealing that all who were unlawfully arrested be compensated according to the law of Ghana. There needs to be an independent investigation on this matter that needs to be conducted and actions taken to ensure that such unjust and inhumane treatments to citizens of the Republic of Ghana does not happen again.
Now, Oliver Mause Baka Vomawa, Felicity Nelson, and 11 more protesters who are arraigned in respect of the Democracy Hub demonstration will know their fate today, as the Circuit Court in Accra is expected to determine their respective applications for bail. They were remanded on Wednesday, September 25. Now, this was after the Circuit Court, presided over by His Honor Kwabna Obri-Yabwa, heard arguments from defense lawyers after the accused persons pleaded not guilty to 6 counts. Our legal affairs correspondent Mutala Inosa has filed the following report.
After a marathon court sitting, His Honor Mr. Kwabena Obri Yebua has adjourned the case to September 26. The reason being that prosecution will have to respond to the bail submissions moved by defense lawyers. Today's sitting was quite different from what happened what happened on Tuesday when some 39 persons were arraigned. Lawyers of all the 13 accused persons took turn to move individual bail applications, started from Dr. Justice Remsai, who represented Oliver Bakavomawa, who was absent, and Felicity Nelson, all together with the other counsels, made submissions in relation to their client. Due to time factor, the case has been adjourned for prosecution to also respond. But clearly, all the accused persons who were present in court pleaded not guilty to all 6 counts, including conspiracy, unlawful assembly, causing unlawful damage, and of course, offensive conduct to the breach of peace and defacement of public notices. On Thursday, the court will hear prosecution, and after assessing all the submissions, the court will make a determination as to whether or not Oliver Bakavomawa, who was absent, and the other 12, including Felicity Nelson, should be granted bail or not. Meanwhile, counsel for one of the accused persons has been explaining the circumstances leading to the adjournment.
I represented 2 of the accused persons, and one is at the police hospital. So we requested from the court for an unconditional release of the accused person as he need medical attention. And also, one of the accused person I represented is someone who is not fit to stand trial because of his condition. Because from the incoherent speech of the accused person, one can visibly see that this person need medical attention at the psychiatric hospital. And this is someone who was promised that if you ask any policeman, you say some things in Hausa to that policeman, the policeman will obviously give you food. So he only needed a policeman to ask him for food, and the policeman directed him to the next policeman, who detained him because he approached him for food. So that person is obviously someone who is not fit to stand trial. Almost all the accused persons have different lawyers. So if all these different lawyers are urging on you to grant bail based on different conditions, one can only expect that the court will adjourn to consider same and rule on same tomorrow.
As it stands, they'll have to wait until the court hears from the prosecution to determine the fate of the accused persons in relation to bail. From the Circuit Court in Accra, Mutala Inusa, GHOne.
Now, the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, CDD, has strongly condemned actions by the Ghana Police Service in relation to the arrest and remand of 39 protesters of the Democracy Hub. In a statement released by the institution, they called for the immediate observance of fair and due process for all detainees and strict adherence to the rule of law. Now, here are excerpts of the statement. Now, looking at a statement, it says the unnecessary manhandling and brutality of citizens exercising their civic and political rights to protest, the refusal by the police to release the complete list of arrested individuals, the ongoing denial of access to legal counsel for detainees in direct violation of Article 14, Clause 2 of the 1992 Constitution underscores the situation's urgency. The failure to notify lawyers of the detained individuals before their arraignment before the Circuit Court is also one of the issues that the CDD is highlighting. Anger, disgust, fear, and disappointment. These are just but a few emotions outside the court as protesters were on trial. Now, their quest to tell the government that enough is enough cost them their freedom. We bring you sights and sounds from the courts.
You want to see us in this? You want to see a 26-year-old lawyer in this? Because she said, "Stop till I'm saved." That's our only crime. Stop till I'm saved.
God, don't be silent. Innocent blood are going. Don't be silent because of their bloodshed. Don't be silent because of their Today is my 10th day of dry fasting. You took me to Odoko. I've not eaten since that Sunday today.
What is their crime? Their crime is trying to protect our very nature, our country called Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana. And this is where we are. They are the criminals. The criminals are continuing with their jobs. And God, nature will judge everyone who has authority to deal with this that refuse and are condoning and conniving. They should send them, they can kill them. If they like, they should kill them.
She's pregnant. She's almost pregnant. Please. She's almost pregnant.
I just speak against the Lantam.
Joined on the telephone by Dr. Michael Augustus Akagbo, Senior Programs Officer, Human Rights and Social Inclusion. I want to speak to him with regard to all of these calls also that are coming in for these protesters to be released. Welcome to Newsroom here on GHOne Television. Now, I'm pretty sure you've been following the issues as they have unfolded. We have practically all those protesters who are arrested currently on remand. Perhaps later on today, some of them will know their fate, whether or not they'll be granted bail or not. What have you made of all of that? Let's begin from there.
Well, good morning, and thanks for having me on your show today. Well, it is a disheartening state we are in right now, where citizens who are protesting and demonstrating in the interest of the state and in the interest of all of us should be undergoing such abuse by the state and its apparatus. I find it disheartening that young people who are expressing their right to protect as guaranteed by the Constitution should be undergoing such punishment for doing what the Constitution provides that they do when they have grievances that are not being met by the state. So it is a very disheartening situation, and I find it very hard to understand why we are putting these young people in this situation.
Now, do you join calls for these individuals to be released, especially those who have already been remanded, some into prison custody, some into police custody for the next 2 weeks, and some potentially will be remanded again today? That is, if their bail applications do not go through.
Well, unless otherwise proven that there has been some criminality to the actions they might have undertaken while they were on protest, I think that it is in the interest of every one of us that our fair justice is adhered to, and that they are relieved. They were on demonstration and protest, and I don't find that holding people for 3 weeks in remand, limiting their freedoms and also curtailing their liberties, is the appropriate way to handle the situation. These are protesters. They are out there protesting an illegality of the Galamsey menace that is destroying our water bodies. They are out there fighting for the very rights that our Constitution provides. They are out there protesting for the good of everyone, including the police and the judges. And to think that the way to reward them is to imprison them and abuse their rights and curtail their freedoms is the way to go. I find it very disheartening. But I think also that there is a discriminatory component to this approach. Look, the way we handle our youngsters in this country is very disheartening. If you look at how the police deal with young protesters when they go out to protest. It tells you a lot about how the mindset we have to engaging with the youth. The whole idea that we are out there to discipline, to correct them. I mean, I doubt if the NDC or the NPP had gone on demonstration that they will be treated the way these youngsters have been treated. So there's a bit of discrimination in terms of how our police are handling and dealing with this issue regarding youth and young people who are protesting against something that is destroying our country.
Right, but how do you respond also to some of the scenes that we saw, I mean, from reporters on the ground, from the demonstration, clearly catching some of these demonstrators engaged in acts that are against the law, breaking the law, among other things, basis for which the police took the actions that they took by arresting them and arraigning them before the courts? Should they not go through the justice system?
Well, yes, that's why I said that if there's any criminality that can be proven, then yes, then the law will have to deal with such persons. But we are holding people in cell for 2 weeks for the police to do what? Take it seriously. 2 weeks for the police to do what? We're holding them in prison and in cells, denying them access to their loved ones, their relatives, their counsels, denying them due process before the law. And we believe that it is in the best interest of the state to do that. No, I don't think so. If the police could prove, if the criminality can be proved, they should have been given bail within 48 hours. This is not a case of, I don't believe that the police are telling me they need an additional 2 weeks to do fact-finding to determine if the crime has been committed or not. So I find that preposterous. So yes, we are definitely not doing what is right when it comes to this protesting.
Very well, Dr. Michael Augustus, we're grateful that you've spoken to us here on Newsroom. We'll leave the conversation here. Thank you very much for speaking to us. He's Senior Programs Officer, Human Rights and Social Inclusion. Now, let's find out what some of you have been saying about all of this that has been unfolding on social media. Nana Ama Akwa is ready to tell us the details. But let's go to the courts now and speak to our legal affairs correspondent, Mutala Inusa. We know that there are about 13 more applications for bail that need to be heard today. And want to find out exactly how that has been going. Mutala, welcome to the bulletin. What can you tell us in terms of what's happening in courts as regards these bail applications?
Well, Lantam, one thing that you come to court and you virtually almost every day you hear when prosecution or defense lawyers are disagreeing on certain matters is the point that we vehemently oppose. That particular word, I can tell you that in the not too distant future, we'll be hearing that from the state prosecutors as they pose to the bail applications yesterday advanced by all the lawyers of the accused person, all the 13 accused persons herein. Mr. Kwabena Obriyeboa, the judge, will have the honors to assess all the submissions made after listening to the prosecution to make a determination as to whether or not to grant bail to Oliver Barker and the remaining 12 or not. But as we can see, at this particular point in time, the atmosphere is very calm. There's no sign of these people arriving at this particular point in time, obviously because of the fact that the court has earmarked 1:30. But of course, when you come here, you might think that nothing is happening. But I can tell you that anytime after 1, you see the police and the accused persons arrive. But at this particular point in time, as we talk right now, the atmosphere is very calm. It's business as usual. Other cases are transpiring, are ongoing. The court is dealing with the other cases and all that. But what is clear is that at 1:30 p.m., the court will sit and listen to the prosecution, after which the court will make a determination. But what is clear is that prosecution vehemently will oppose to the bail request advanced yesterday by all the accused persons through their lawyers.
Mutala Inusa, thank you for bringing us that update from the courts. Mutala Inusa is our legal affairs correspondent reporting from the court. Of course, we'll be monitoring the situation and bring you some more updates as and when we have those updates. But let's now get to social media and find out what the commentary has been on social media as regards these issues of the Galamsey protesters. Nana Ama Akwa, good morning to you.
Hi there, Lantam. Well, actually, we are talking about how the president, or what the president said at the 79th UN General Assembly, talking about it being a free and fair election. Elikem says free, fair, transparent, but not peaceful, right? You're one of the worst decisions we have made as a country. You didn't sustain the wonderful gains of President Kufuor. Please add the peaceful. Why? Then we also have here, Nick, you have nothing to do than hand over power to the winner. Then when we move over to Instagram, Prince says, we are glad you are leaving. It's so exciting to know that there will never be a time when you can ever be our leader again. That's so exciting. See how everything comes to an end? You should have helped your country move forward. We also have Hajia, I beg, do get down so we have a fresh of good air. I think a fresh wind of good air, NDC, according to Hajia there. Then we have Seke Kama, the best president Gold Coast has ever had. We love you. Then we also have Karim. I didn't believe it until our tap water turned muddy. You will face divine reckoning for this environmental disaster. Then our last comment here from Juice Me Ghana. It's a lie. His party is scheming with the EC to steal the election for the failed economist. Well, that's what you had to tell us there. My name is Nanama Akwa. Continue to send us your messages on Instagram, Facebook, and on X, which is formerly Twitter. Lantam, back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Nana Ama Akwa there, bringing us some commentary on social media. Of course, the president is at the United Nations General Assembly, and he's been speaking then, so we brought you comments on that. Subsequently, of course, we'll be looking at some comments with regard to the Galamsey protesters. You're still watching Newsroom. We'll be right back.
GHOne OV van has been one of the best vans I've used personally in this country. It runs a system where we are able to run on Dante to be able to do our broadcast mixed well also from this van.
I've used this OB van for quite a number of big productions, i.e. 3 music awards, the late President Rollis' state funeral, Emmys Africa Awards, and a number of them.
My experience with the GHOne van has been the state of the art equipment they have. Personal experience is you can use it for both indoor and outdoor, all events, conferencing, like anything you need a van to work for you, GHOne provides it.
My experience with the van has been very good. Why? Because it has a number of facilities that I may not get in other vans. You know, the van has a very wide bench that can accommodate all my technical crew, ICCU, switcher, graphics, CG, and all of that. And then it also has a studio, a green room studio that comes with TriCaster. So if you want somebody to do commentary on a live event, you can put that presenter or host in that studio as well and get that running.
To give an experience to our audience, we're also watching on TVs and online. Work with an Exo technology system, which makes your video mixing with Panasonic cameras, like a lot of other stuff in terms of content you need to get also for your live broadcasts. I
prefer the GHOne van to a lot of other vans I've used, or even doing my own setup on a tabletop setup, because on a production you see a number of people in the van, and so if you have a very small van, it means that it's going to be choked, and that will affect the creativity as well. The price has been discounted as well to accommodate varied budgets, and so no matter the budget you have, I understand you can have the track and do business with it.
It looks huge, but very affordable. Cost is really, really affordable. My experience with this EMI Awards last year, super excellent. Try it, call them, and I'm going to give you the best of price. Really affordable.
You're welcome back. You're watching Newsroom here on GHOne Television. Now, relatives and ambulance drivers who thronged the mortuary at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital were left stranded as the Mortuary Workers Association of Ghana begin their indefinite strike effective today, Thursday, September 26, in demand of improved conditions of service. Concerns of the union include inadequate provision of personal protective equipment, which the members of the union say has exposed them to diseases and other dangers. Additionally, salary arrears of members dating back to the year 2020 remain unpaid, and a request for financial clearance to employ 500 additional mortuary workers has been ignored. Now, we're joined via Zoom by my colleague Evelyn Araba Edu. She's a woman on the ground reporting on these issues that the mortuary workers have been raising, especially as they've begun their strike today. Araba, exactly where are you now, and what can you report about how the strike is already beginning to bite, as far as people who are looking for morgues to take their deceased loved ones to and other things are concerned?
I am currently stationed at the Kolebu mortuary, and as you can see, a taxi just turned away, and that car contains relatives who have their relatives here who are just turned away because the workers here are on strike. And as you can see, this gate is underlocked with red banners indicating that indeed the workers of this particular facility are on strike. I still have some relatives here who are also lamenting. So let's also hear from them how this is affecting them. Hello, madam.
Hello.
I saw you coming inside and you left. What is the situation? What is happening now? Why are you going back?
So they said they are on strike. So it's either we take our bodies to a private home or we keep them here till they resume their strike. And it's really affecting us. So we keep our bodies from Tuesday to a private home, and we are coming for the paperwork to take to the private home. It's really frustrating because it's also an extra cost. It's very frustrating.
Okay, so right now you have your relative at a private mall.
Yes, please.
And you were telling me about the price. How different is it from that of the public one?
It's quite huge. It's quite huge.
Okay, Lantam, she's not the only one, only relative feeling the impact. But if we move closer, when we come inside and you see on my right side, you see that a fleet of ambulances parked here. And this also indicates how the drivers are also feeling the impact. Because with the morgue being closed, or the workers not working, and relatives not being able to pick their relatives, then it means they are also not working. I've been engaging. When you turn to my right, there are some of the drivers who are sitting under the shade here. And let's also hear from them how this is affecting them. If I show, and the one page, you man. Maybe in a auto. And it's not much now has started to know how it. Now, almost I didn't say almost two men are down with you. Okay, so Lantam, so this is one of the drivers here, and as you can see, all those seated here are also drivers that uses the ambulances parked here, and as you can see, they are unable to work. Most of them are also standing there, which tells the real impact of the strike. We've been trying to get the leadership of the association to also comment to us, because yesterday they had a meeting with the National Labour Commission together with the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission and the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Finance. And they say that they have given them the assurance of working to resolve all the issues that they have raised. But they still remain that. until they see it happening, the strike is still going on, Lantam.
Well, thank you very much, Evelyn Araba Edu there, who is currently at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital morgue area. And she's been reporting that the effects of the strike by the mortuary workers have already begun to bite hard. Now, if you have experienced an interruption in power supply in the last few days, the Ghana Grid Company Limited, GHOne, and the Electricity Company of Ghana say it is as a result of challenges at the Ghana National Gas Limited Company's processing plant at Atwabo, which has caused a reduction in gas supply for power generation. The two agencies are assuring the general public that engineers are working to address the issue and restore full supply of gas while they continue to monitor the situation, which is expected to normalize once the issue at the plant is addressed. And you can see the statement from the ECG, from GHOne and the ECG on your screen now. And it says the Ghana Grid Company Limited and the Electricity Company of Ghana wish to inform the public that due to a challenge at the Ghana National Gas Limited Company gas processing plant at Atwabo, gas supply for power generation has been limited, which has caused some customers to experience intermittent interruption in power supply. We apologize unreservedly for the inconvenience caused to the public as a result of this challenge. Engineers from the GNGC are currently working to address the issue to restore full supply of gas. GHOne and ECG will continue to monitor the situation, which is expected to normalize once the issue at the plant is addressed. So this was issued by Papanko, who is manager for corporate communications at GHOne. Now, ranking member on the Energy Committee of Parliament, John Jinapo, is alleging that the Ghana Grid Company Limited, GHOne, has been cautioned not to reveal to customers of ECG and the general public the true state of the energy crisis, as he says the sector is on the verge of collapse.
Because of such dubious contracts, as we speak today, there is load shedding ongoing. GHOne has been cautioned not to inform customers. Yesterday, there was a deficit of more than 500 megawatts. Today, they are going to shed load, and customers in Ghana will be affected. Talo Ghana has not been paid even $1 for the past 9 months for gas supply to Ghana Gas, and Talo is threatening to curtail supply of gas. The IPPs have just dispatched a letter to the Minister of Finance intending to halt supply of power for debt and liabilities hovering around $1.2 billion. It is sad that the energy sector is collapsing. The PURC recently confirmed that ECG is on the verge of bankruptcy. ECG alone incurred a debt of 10 billion cedis in their latest financial statement.
Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament is also alleging that there is pressure on the Ghana Gas Company from the presidency to sign an $800 million contract with the Phoenix Park Gas Processors Consortium under questionable circumstances without parliamentary approval. The minority caucus reveals that the power deficit of over 500 megawatts was recorded on Tuesday, September 24, negatively impacting customers. Now, here is the ranking member on the Energy Committee, John Jinapo, speaking to the issue.
The minority once again has become aware of attempts by the Flagstaff House to compel the chief executive of the Ghana Gas Company Limited to sign a contract for gas processing at a whopping cost of more than $800 million. The initial tender had to do with a company called Phoenix. Surprisingly and strangely, that company has metamorphosized into an SPV, ostensibly to avoid parliamentary scrutiny. But more importantly, as we speak, the government of Ghana and Ghana Gas have not secured a firm commitment on the supply of raw gas for processing by this entity that they want to sign a contract with. The norm is that you secure firm assurance on delivery of raw gas, so that when you construct GPP2 or the second gas processing plant, the raw gas will be available. Unfortunately, that has not been secured. It's obvious that this government realizing that they are on the verge of losing the elections, and with just about 2 months to leave office, they are determined to use whatever means possible to compel the chief executive to execute this contract. On behalf of the minority, on behalf of the NDC, let me send a very firm and stern warning to the chief executive of the Ghana Gas Company Limited. Don't allow yourself or politicians to use you for their selfish parochial interest and gains.
Now, the Institute for Energy Security is questioning the reasons provided by both the ECG and GHOne for the recent power supply disruptions in the country. Now, according to the energy think tank, similar reasons for limited gas supply was provided in the past, but it turned out that the real reasoning behind the power disruption was a result of a delay in payments to WAPCO.
Pray it's the case, because there's been an instance where similar statements were issued and blaming it on Ghana Gas Processing Plant. But it turned out that WAPCO was not ready to evacuate the gas from Ghana Gas. And so Ghana Gas had to shut down. And why would WAPCO not be willing to do that? It was because they were chasing government for their money. Last 2 days, we had the IPP threatened. And normally they do this in sync. The moment the IPPs come in, WAPCO will come in and come collecting its cash. WAPCO have shut the valve for more than 3 occasions, on about 3 occasions, for non-payment of bills. We pray it's not really that.
Now, the executive director for the Institute of Energy Security, Nana Mwesi the 7th, has welcomed the resignation of the managing director for the Electricity Company of Ghana, Samuel Dubik Mahala, describing the decision as a common sense approach. He's now calling on President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to relieve the board of the ECG, as they have largely contributed to the underperformance of the company. He spoke earlier on the Morning Star.
The common sense approach is what Mr. Dubik have done. He honorably resigned, but if choose not to resign, I think that the person that appointed can disappoint them same. And so we are calling on the president to relieve the board. And why we say so is that they give strategic direction. They influence largely the actions and inactions of the management group. And so we don't expect the board to still be in place. Yeah, it's been alleged that there's even those boardroom wranglings influenced by political interference, for which reason somebody must swallow the pill and say, for personal reason, I am resigning. We think that for non-performance, the others must resign.
Well, let's stay a while longer on this issue as we've been joined by energy analyst Dr. Shafiq Suleiman to have a conversation on this. Doc, thank you very much for joining us. From where you sit, what really is going on in the energy sector as we speak, with the resignation of the ECG boss, with reports of load shedding, inability to buy gas, and all of that? What is going on? Doc, if you can unmute for us, because we can hardly hear what you're saying. So if you can kindly unmute and speak so that we can hear you clearly. Right, Doc, if you can check your connection for us, because we're finding it difficult. If you can hear me, Doc, if you can check your connection for us.
Yes. Hello,
yes,
can you
very
hear me?
good. Very good. We can hear you now. Very good.
Okay.
Yes.
I say we've been having this conversation from the beginning of the year to date. And you and I have had several interviews on this main issue, from the impasse between ECG and PRC up till today. And it is all as a result of the lack of transparency and opaqueness in the industry. And then we've all been complaining about what is happening. It is not the best. But then, I mean, these are some of the results. I mean, ECG board, you remember they had several issues with PRC. The board before the current board had several challenges. Some of the board members had to also resign, and I mean, so many issues. It's just because of lack of transparency, lack of more opaqueness in the power distribution segment. And ECG is actually the most important part of the power sector in Ghana. And I think that generally we must focus on how we can get them to be more efficient, and generally to let them realize their value to the power sector in Ghana, because ECG is the bedrock of the power industry. They collect the last revenue, or they collect the revenue to pay back the value chain. They pay back the power distribution, transmission, power generators, and even it is affecting the gas producers. So ECG's performance is actually one of the most critical components of this economy. So I think, I mean, all these activities are just out of conversations you and I have had from the beginning of the year to date. And from where I sit, these developments are very important and very good, and they are going to serve as precedents for us to get the power sector working better.
Moving forward, I mean, the ECG boss has resigned. There are calls for the board to also be dissolved. Are these calls that you also back?
I really don't look at the resignation of the MD is enough from where I sit, because I mean, he has done his part. He has been able to get us to where we are now. I mean, some of us didn't really like the way the ECG and PRC were moving back and forth. I was even telling some colleagues or a group of people yesterday that, I mean, power is becoming a very important component of our economy, and for the regulator to be struggling to get ECG to work was actually becoming a big problem, because per the structure of the industry, the regulator is supposed to work at a very convenient level with ECG and every other party. But it got to a point, it was taking a lot of effort for PRC Chief Executive Secretary to get ECG to work. And that becomes a very big problem. And they must work together all the time. These two entities must not be seen to be struggling to work together, because they are two separate institutions that, if they work together much more conveniently, everybody or the consumers will benefit. So I think that for him to resign is a good call. He actually took the best decision. And I think there will be more competent people to replace him going forward.
Very well, Doc. We're grateful that you've spoken to us here on Newsroom. We just heard us speak to Dr. Shafiq Suleiman on these issues within the energy sector. And that should do it for our business segment here on Newsroom. Welcome back. This is Newsroom here on GHOne TV. Time for the EIB Election Hub. Now, the running mate for the opposition National Democratic Congress, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, has reaffirmed the NDC's unwavering commitment to inclusivity and respect for all religious groups, unlike other parties. Thus, she's urging the Muslim community to vote massively for the NDC, since the party has their welfare at heart. Professor Opoku-Agyeman noted that while neither the NDC flag bearer nor the running mate is a Muslim, the party is accommodating of the concerns of the Muslim community.
President too. It's all task that Ghana for a break. Mecca Kakano Kokadidofo. Or see Hash Village. Or the airport in the Kasibe, easy Amo Biara. Or Muslim holidays. 19 Kabuaka Yama. Or share my Muslim schools. Your teachers are Papa Okoro. There's a boy from another. It's a hands yim. Yim Krobia Ganani. Yama Church, Maoni Fiha. I want wooden and summits and Kaho. Yadamadas. Yarisha, President Okanyimpa Bom. Mo Bunimpa. Mo Owayam Sishe. Mo Bumesiafo. Natami Bijinaha. Monim Dahana Mesiafo. Yanzamaka Krakaya Bay and Yazaka Hoye. Anamabwa. Maybe GHOne. Only young John. Dramani.
And that's it for your Election Hub. Well, let's look at what's happening in sports. Nana Amma is here with the details. Nanama, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Lantam. In sports this afternoon, former Blasters captain Stephen Tornado Appiah has added his voice for the inclusion of local players in the national team. The Black Stars, speaking at the Parliament Select Committee on Youth and Sports sitting, the former Juventus man who captained the national team at the 2010 World Cup highlighted the need to build confidence in the local players through call-ups. He further bemoaned the players' exodus in the league and tagged it as shameful.
So in our time, maybe there are certain players that looks as if they are key players in the team. We were not key players. We have players like William Ferro and the rest who were pushing us. So we have to make sure that we are not going to allow them to take our positions. For example, when we went to the World Cup 2006, Osefufo was a top defender. After the game against Germany, after the game against Italy, the second game against Czech Republic, it was Sheila Alias who was playing for Papanko. He came in and he stamped the position. Brilliant player. We don't have Sapiens anymore. We have our players now running to go to Tanzania. It's a shame. They should rather come here. We have our players now going to Sudan because some of the boys are earning 300 cities. They are earning 500 cities. And at times they have to go beyond 5 months. They have children. They have to take care of home. They have to pay their bills. So somebody will come and say, okay, I'll give you $800.
Now, the former captain also touched on players' disrespect and disregard for national team coaches, indicating coaches need to be firm and resolute in decision-making.
Happens, but I won't blame the players. I would rather blame the coaches, because at the end of the day, you are the boss. So you can decide not to play Ronaldo, you can't say anything. You will get upset, but at the end of the day, if the coach decide I'm not playing you, you can't do anything. So when players you think that players think that they are beyond you, the coach, you have to take certain drastic decisions. Yes, I was then a player, today I'm a coach, so it's two different things. So I'm not a player anymore that you can compare yourself that you are better than me. I'm a coach. So you have to respect my decisions. Those things happen, but I would say that the coaches should be more brave and take certain decisions.
On the international front, Manchester United Europa League campaign kicked off with a disappointing 1-1 draw against FC 20 at Old Trafford. Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag was less frustrated after his side was held to a 1-1 draw by his former club.
And controlling the game. And then you have to be consistent. You have to keep going in the second half. And we dropped the level. And we gave a goal away.
When you look at the fluidity of your team, especially in the second half, what was it about the change in the momentum that why the 20 were able to get back into the game?
As I said, we didn't finish it off. We had to go for the second goal. And so they stay in life, and then we get punished with a mistake from ourselves.
Now, Tottenham captain Son Heung-min has criticized the increased workload on players and has urged football authorities to take the issue seriously amid speculation players could take a strike action. Speaking ahead of their game this evening, Son Heung-min says he wants to reduce the number of matches and asks that players are not robots.
Players came out and say the right things, and I think it was very important to someone actually come up to and say the right things. You know, sometimes players are the main guys to have to say something. You know, and it's definitely a lot of games. And as a football fan or who loves football, you want to see quality of the game, not many games as possible, and you don't want to see people or players are struggling with the injuries, and which is nobody wants to see it. And I think it's definitely a lot of games, a lot of traveling, which is we have to look after ourselves, and which is sometimes it's also very hard, and sometimes you're mentally, physically you're not ready, and then you're going into the pitch. Obviously, then the risk of injury and is massive. So we are not robots. So I think we just definitely have to looking after that and reduce the game definitely, and we can play better. Quality of game is definitely. I think this is should be the aim.
That is all for sports here on Newsroom. I am Nana Ama Ajiman. Back to you, Lantam.
Oh, thank you, Nana Ama Ajiman, bringing us the latest in sports. It's now time to look at international news. The remains of 42 South African freedom fighters who died while in exile in Zimbabwe and Zambia during the struggle against white minority rule arrived in the country Wednesday. The remains were received by government officials and family members at the Waterkloof Air Force Base in the capital Pretoria after being exhumed in Zambia and Zimbabwe for their reburial in the country of their birth. This was part of a government program to bring closure to families whose loved ones died away from home while serving in the underground structures of both African National Congress and the Pan-Africanist Congress, according to officials. President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to host a homecoming ceremony for the repatriated remains on Friday before they are handed over to their families for reburials across the country. The government said on Wednesday that it was in the process of repatriating the remains of other South Africans from Lesotho, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Angola, Russia, and other countries. Well, that's it for Newsroom here on GHOne Television. Thank you very much for your time. For more news, log on to starfm.com.gh. Take a look at our social media handles as well at GHOne TV on Facebook, X, and Instagram. My name is Lantam, Papanko. Have a good day.
GHOne OV van has been one of the best vans I've used personally in this country. It runs a system where we are able to run on Dante to be able to do our broadcast mixed well also from this van.
I've used this OB van for quite a number of big productions, i.e. 3 music awards, the late President Rollis' state funeral, Emmys Africa Awards, and a number of them.
My experience with the GHOne van has been the state of the art equipment they have. Personal experience is you can use it for both indoor and outdoor, all events, conferencing, like anything you need a van to work for you, GHOne provides it. My
experience with the van has been very good. Why? Because it has a number of facilities that I may not get in other vans. You know, the van has a very wide bench that can accommodate all my technical crew. ICCU, switcher, graphics, CG, and all of that. And then it also has a studio, a green room studio that comes with TriCaster. So if you want somebody to do commentary on a live event, you can put that presenter who's in that studio as well and get that running.
To give an experience to our audience, we're also watching on TVs and online. Work with an Exo technology system, which makes your video mixing with Panasonic cameras, like a lot of other stuff in terms of content you need to get also for your live broadcasts.
I prefer the GHOne van to a lot of other vans I've used, or even doing my own setup on a tabletop setup. Because on a production you see a number of people in the van. And so if you have a very small van, it means that it's going to be choked, and that will affect the creativity as well. The price has been discounted as well to accommodate varied budgets. And so no matter the budget you have, I understand you can have the truck and do business with it.
It looks huge, but very affordable. Cost is really, really affordable. My experience with this EMI Awards last year, super excellent. Try it, call them, and I'm going to give you the best of price. Really affordable.